Hello, welcome to Walk in the Park. My name is Tony Ingram, and today is October 9th. This is recorded on episode 59, and you can see all of our episodes at my blog, my vid blog, walkinpark.com. This is recorded in Ithaca, New York at Pegasus Studios, public access on Time Warner Cable. Okay, today we are going to go to a city park pretty soon, but we'll get to that in a minute. We're going to go to the DeWitt Park in Ithaca to see the First Peoples Festival. And that's going to take up most of the show. That's our main featured event here. But I thought we'd just go out in the woods for a little bit and take a look at some of the fall colors that are happening now. This is a picture taken, the next three pictures are taken by my brother, actually not here, but in Connecticut. My brother's quite a nature photographer, and he does not use Photoshop in editing or any other photo editor in editing his colors or anything like that. This is a brook called Ellis Brook in Stafford, Connecticut, where he has been photographing every year for, I don't know, maybe 30 years or something, and he loves to look at reflections and the different qualities of light on water and so forth, particularly the natural polarization of sunlight as it hits water and so forth. I don't really remember all the explanations of it, but this is not a Photoshop picture at all. This is natural light as seen by his camera. So both of these are in that Ellis Brook. This one is in something called Middle River. Look at that picture. He's got a whole lot of stuff. So if you want to see more of his work, go to his website, righttotheimage.com, I think it is, righttotheimage.com. So now locally, I go out for walks in the parks most every day that I can. And this was a couple weeks ago, a week and a half ago, in Buttermilk Falls State Park, walking through an old pine plantation late in the day, just before the colors really started to pick up. And it was really warm. You might remember we had some very nice warm weather, and so sort of an Indian summer kind of effect. And I took a little video on the day that I took this picture, and it is mostly showing a group of Cornell women students. I think they were athletes. Huge group that came through the park. But in any case, let's get that up here. Okay, so just a little trip out into Buttermilk Falls State Park, enjoying the warm weather that does now seem to be past, getting back to normal temperatures. Now we'll go into Ithaca to October 5th, last Saturday. This is October 9th, and go to the First Peoples Festival. So the First Peoples Festival takes place on the Saturday associated with the Ithaca Apple Festival. So this is their logo showing the Iroquois symbol of the turtle with a world on its back. So that's the North America, or the world, on the back of the turtle. This is all according to the Iroquois creation story. First Peoples Festival. Okay, so this was put together, a big lead taken by the Ithaca Multicultural Resource Center. I'm just going to read some of the credits here. The festival was co-sponsored by the Multicultural Resource Center, Cornell University American Indian Program, Ithaca College Center for the Study of Race, Culture, and Ethnicity, and its Native American Studies Program. Here's a table with an Ithaca College table that's showing the flag of the Haudenosaunee, or the Iroquois. You will hear that term Haudenosaunee a number of times, and that is the Iroquois Confederacy's name for themselves. So, okay, who else? Ithaca College Event Services, Home Depot and Downtown Ithaca Alliance in partnership with the Apple Harvest Festival. The festival is funded in part by the Community Arts Partnership and the Tompkins County Tourism Program. Okay, so there was, as you could see, there were arts and crafts, there were information tables, there was also music. This was Butch Mudbone, who is a blues musician, but he's also Native American, and I think he's Mohawk, and he put on a little concert there, and he had some of his CDs and so forth to sell. And then there was another fellow, actually early on in the video I'm going to show you momentarily, Emilio Benitez, who's from Peru. He's in, and he plays the zampoña, I think it's called, the Andean flute. So one of the traditional instruments that you've probably heard, and he's going to have that there. So we'll take a look at the video that I made of the day, and that'll come right up here. We'll put that on up in a second here, get that going.
So you're going to be on the show, you're going to be on the TV.
I'm Tariq Widarso. I'm a student at Ithaca College, and I've been very involved in the two-row campaign. And what we are trying to do is like we are trying to put as much. We have been trying to help as much as we can with the campaign, with with the helping hands, or like help with the marketing, or the volunteer work at the share farm. You know, because we have needed a lot of help in that. So I mean, that's pretty much what we've been doing. We've been supporting the two-row campaign for as much as we can, and throughout this whole semester with all the various events that will be happening in the town, we will be at them as well, volunteering like we are today at the First Peoples Festival.
Yeah. So could you just summarize what the two-row campaign means?
Sure. The two-row campaign is a campaign to raise the awareness of a 400-year-old treaty that the Haudenosaunee had with the Dutch settlers 400 years ago. And so the treaty just marks the to work together and live together in harmony between the Dutch settlers and the Native Americans to live together without getting involved. I mean, like without disrupting disrupting the other nation. And so it's just to gain awareness about now that we have to be able to work together with the Native Americans and like preserve our environment, because it's very important for the both of us to be able to keep our world, like healthy and safe. So I mean, that's pretty much what the campaign kind of reflects.
So what happened with the campaign this year? This summer you ended up in New York City. You were down there. And
This year the large thing that we had was a giant paddle down the Hudson River from Albany. It was a couple-day paddle. I think it was like about 9 days, and they reached Manhattan. I think it was in August. They reached Manhattan, and what we did there was we had a march across Manhattan. It was about 100 or more people who marched across Manhattan to the UN building for the indigenous peoples forum that the UN was hosting that day. So a couple of the Native American leaders were there to talk as well. So it was a big event.
Yeah.
And it raised a lot of awareness for what's happening right now.
Yeah.
I'm Laura Kerrigan. I work for Primitive Pursuits full-time. I'm their program assistant, so I help expand programs and manage their website, and I'm a lead instructor in the field.
So what is Primitive Pursuits?
Primitive Pursuits is a 4-H organization out of Cornell Cooperative Extension, and we work on environmental education and nature connection mentoring and survival skills, basically primitive skills. So we work with friction fire, shelter building, naturalist skills like tree identification and herbalism, as well as some of those harder skills like the fire and cordage making.
All right, so what are you doing right here?
I'm actually making some cordage. It's a very strong rope.
Cordage is a fancy name for string, right?
Right. And I'm making it out of dog bane, and this is what dog bane looks like when it's all dried out.
Right. I'm familiar with that plant. Yeah.
So this is the top.
Yeah.
The native plant, right?
Yeah, it is native.
Yeah, cool.
And I'm just doing what we call reverse wrap, which is wrapping it and twisting the fibers towards each other, so even when I let go, it's not going to unravel or anything like that. And then when it's finished, we have a nice product like this. It's really soft, and if you make it long enough, you can use it for friction fire, things like that.
Right. So is this something the Haudenosaunee would have done traditionally, or?
A lot of native groups would have. I don't know. I'm sure that they would have, because dog bane grows here locally.
Right.
But I'm not super 100% of that, so I don't want to say that.
Yeah. But in general, yes, it's done by Native
They
people.
definitely did a lot of the friction fire stuff, and of course the shelter building as Haudenosaunee is the longhouse, but I'm sure they worked with Portage as well.
Right. So this is really a piece of Native American heritage coming from North America that the Native people here, and so that's why you're doing this particular activity. Yeah.
Absolutely. We try to really keep the roots of everything that we're doing, and especially when we're working with youth, but when we're working with adults, like anything that we're doing, we try to express where it's coming from and where that tradition came from, so that we're not just teaching these skills, but we're teaching cultural heritage, and we're teaching a lot of different things when it comes to that.
Right. How can people find out more about Primitive Pursuits?
You can go to our website at primitivepursuits.com,
There we go.
or you can call us at Cornell Cooperative Extension.
Yeah. Great. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
The central concept is the same way they make like steel cables. They twist individual strands one way, so both individual strands will be twisting away from me. Then you twist them both together. What that does is the individual strands are trying to untwist one way, and then both the strands together are trying to untwist the other way, and it locks them together. So they're trying to constantly untwist from each other, so that it's locked. So this doesn't come undone. If I shake this, that's going to stay together. Whereas if I just twisted them together, normally, then it's going to come undone. So I twist away from myself. Different people do it different ways, but basically I pinch at the crux where it starts. I'll push the top one away from me, and then I reach behind it and grab the bottom one, and then push that towards me. Right there. Get one more piece.
Yeah, Mike had to go to work, but Andy's there. Okay. I'll be right back.
I went to Memphis because I started playing the blues at a young age and I wanted to keep on with it. I'll still follow the ceremonies and everything too. I kind of don't like to prostitute that. Kind of keep that for myself.
Hi, I'm Brandon Lazore from the Onondaga Nation, and I'm the artist who painted the mural on Seneca Street Garage.
Right. It's beautiful.
Thank you.
Gorgeous. So what's the significance of the mural?
I'll explain it to you. There's 5 wampum belts represented in this mural. This is the prophecy wampum belt. This line represents the sky world where the creator lives. This represents the peacemaker. This is the sky world where the creator lives. This is his descent to us. The heart in the middle represents a big heart for peace and righteousness and just living good and having a good mind. The diamond represents the 4 directions he sends the peace in.
Right.
This is the 2-row wampum belt. It was a treaty between the Dutch and the Haudenosaunee. And what it represents is a river with 2 vessels floating down it. One is the ships of the Dutch and one is the canoes of the Iroquois. Right. And the agreement was to live together with peace and just kindness and friendship, as long as the grass was green and the waters flow. And neither one was supposed to steer each other's vessel or make each other live by each other's laws. This one in the middle is the Hiawatha wampum belt. It represents the unity of the Iroquois Confederacy or the Haudenosaunee Confederacy. and it represents the Seneca Nation, Cayuga Nation, Onondaga Nation, Oneida Nation, and Mohawk Nation.
Right.
This belt right here is the George Washington belt. It was commissioned by George Washington to be made as a treaty between the United States and the Haudenosaunee, the Iroquois. The 13 big figures represent the 13 colonies of the United States at the time.
Right.
The two smaller figures represent the Seneca and the Mohawk, the two outer doors of the territory. And the longhouse represents our religion, our ways. So basically, this was an agreement between the United States and the Haudenosaunee. This was with the Dutch and the Haudenosaunee before the United States.
Right.
This wampum belt represents the tree of peace. Any nation can follow its white roots to the tree of peace and stay under its long branches and live in peace and prosperity with each other.
That's the one on the end here.
Yes, this is the one on the end. And if you go to the actual site of this on the Seneca Street garage, coming down Seneca Street, it's like this painted on it. These are two columns, and this is a seat on the bus stop. This middle design is what I call sky domes, and it represents the sky where the creator lives up here. The three in the middle represent the landscape of this territory. We were given three sisters, three special plants, corns, bean, and squash. The fourth plant is the sacred tobacco we were given.
Right.
The figures is a chief from each nation, and how you know they're a chief is because you see a deer antlers on their gustoa or their hats. You know what nation they're from by the arrangement of the feathers on their hats. One feather up represents Seneca Nation. One feather down or to the back represents Cayuga Nation. One feather up and down represents Onondaga Nation. Two feathers up and one down is Oneida Nation. And three feathers up represents the Mohawk Nation.
Right.
They're set in a modern longhouse with modern regalia on that we wear today because I didn't want it to be an old representation of us. So people know that today that we still carry on our ceremonies.
Right.
And still carry on our ways.
Right. Now, is the Tuscarora Nation represented somehow, or?
The Tuscarora isn't represented in this because it was done for the two-row wampum, and at that time and period, the Tuscarora weren't a part of the Confederacy.
Right. Right. They came like in the 1720s or something like that.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you very, very much. Okay. So a lot going on at the First Peoples Festival. They've had this going on for a few years now. I think the first one took place at Tutelo Park, which was in the town of Ithaca, but they moved it into DeWitt Park and coupled it with the Apple Festival to get more people to be able to come to it. So if you want to see Brandon Lazore's mural on the Seneca Street garage, there it is. On Seneca Street, the parking garage there is the mural. So go over and check that out. Take a good look at it. Maybe someday they'll have some interpretive signage up there that will explain all the things that you just heard. So if you want to find out more about the two-row wampum renewal campaign, which was mentioned a couple of times in this video, honoring the ancient treaties between the early European settlers and the, well, particularly the Haudenosaunee or the Iroquois, going back 400 years, the two-row wampum treaty with the Dutch. Go to this website, and there's a big campaign to raise awareness about honoring treaties with indigenous people and also caring for the earth, and in modern terms as well, including things like hydrofracking. But going on at the same time, of course, as the First Peoples Festival was the Apple Festival, and was actually much bigger and more attended. But let's go take a look at just a short taste of that. Okay, just a taste. If you were probably down there, if you weren't, well, it was a lot of fun. The weather was great, and it was an Indian summer again, and even had temperatures on Sunday up in the low 80s, I think. So we're going to finish off here with another view of Buttermilk Falls I just took the other day, and just a little walk down in the upper section, walk from the upper park down into what's called the Pinnacle Rock area, one of my favorite places to spend time and walk and get some exercise, and also just to be with nature and contemplative. This one we won't be sharing with so many people as in the other one. So, okay, let's go back to Buttermilk Falls to wrap up the show. Okay, so the parks are open with the federal government shutdown. A lot of people think that all parks are closed, or like the state parks are closed. They're not. The state parks are open. And I also have heard that everything except the headquarters of the Finger Lakes National Forest is open, but I've heard that the Montezuma National Wildlife Refuge is closed. It's too bad that the national parks and so forth are being held hostage to the deadlock in Washington. So well, that's just wrapping up our show here. Walk in the Park episode 59, recorded on the 9th of October 2013. So thanks for joining us.